What's better than this?
Hi, welcome to Messier Mantra. I'm your host, Mike Messier. On this episode, it's a great honor for me to have a very good friend of mine. I've known this guy for about 3 or 4 years since we graduated from college, right?
Oh my gosh, hey Mike, how are you? Good to see you.
Lenny Schwartz.
How you doing?
Yeah.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me on. And on your birthday, no less.
Yeah, it's my birthday coming up, man.
Oh really?
Yeah.
29 years old. How do you do
again?
it?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Well, thanks. I just keep being me, and somehow the calendar clicks, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I had doubt to make it this far, but I'm glad, you know?
But I mean, we're here to talk about you. I do
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. And Lenny, you are a prolific playwright. I think personally, I've probably seen 30 or 40 of your productions.
Yeah. I mean, I try to do about 2 to 3 a year usually. Now, because I've gotten a little older in age, you know, I'm finally in my 40s, which is amazing. So I mean, 2 to 3 a year. Usually 2 in Rhode Island, one in New York. Usually a year, sometimes more in New York, sometimes more in Rhode Island, just depends. You know, I have a thing where I like to write and be almost the first person to direct certain stuff.
Sure.
I've had stuff where as a playwright, where I've had other people direct, or you know, first and everything like that. But those are stuff that's not true to my heart. Not that's not true to my heart. Everything should be as a writer true to your heart. But I mean, stuff that is. Stuff that I have to direct, something I can't see any other way. When someone takes your words, you know, they have their own spin on it.
Right.
So, you know, you want to make sure that a lot of times when you're doing something like, I did a play just recently about Steve Ditko, who was one of the co-creators of Spider-Man.
Correct.
And I had to be the first person to direct that show because I couldn't see it anywhere else. Now, after that, other people can take that show and, you know, do whatever they want with it if they wanted to produce it or whatever. But I have to be that first person to do that. And as far as playwright goes, as a play goes.
Well, Stallone, the famous story, of course, we all know it. The Sylvester Stallone had to direct and star in. Well, he didn't direct Rocky, but he starred in it.
Yep.
And it's that same possession of character that a playwright, as yourself, has to have as a director.
Yeah.
And why not be your own advocate?
Well, that's exact. I agree 100%. I mean, I do believe I have had experiences where I've had a director, you know, take something for the first time have done it,
right?
Which has been very nice, and I've had those trusted collaborations. But a lot of times I'm a very like, all right, why don't we just do this, you know, kind of person. And I like to also get things done because I always have so many ideas brewing. As a writer, and you write yourself, sometimes you have 4 or 5 projects.
Right.
So someone always said to me, it's like plate spinning. So you have like one plate spinning, you spin that plate. You say, okay, I'm gonna go over here now and spin that plate over here and like stuff like this. So.
Well, I want to show the people that maybe aren't familiar with the work a little sample. Now, this first clip is Higher Methods, which a mutual friend of ours, Nathan Shore.
Oh, great guy.
Yes.
Yep.
And he directed this piece, but you're the screenwriter.
Yep. It's actually based off an original play that I wrote in 2013.
Yes.
Nathan never saw the show. One time he, I think it was like 2014, we worked on a short film. And in this short film, he said, do you have anything that for more of a feature-length film that we can kind of collaborate on? Because we've enjoyed collaboration. And I said, yeah, I have this screenplay. It was originally supposed to go to another filmmaker. But the filmmaker, you know, we had talked about it. And, you know, he said, well, you know, maybe it's not such a nice fit for me, but maybe it could be good for something else. And he gave his blessing. So I gave it off to Nathan, and Nathan took the film and he ran away with it, and it was just amazing. I can't imagine.
Let's show the preview, because I want people to be able to see it. So let's check out on Messier Mantra, Higher Methods trailer.
I thought she was gone, and then I saw her on a movie screen.
You're an actor. You go around life as a blank canvas, waiting to paint yourself onto a character, someone who isn't you. You're lucky you got into this class. He's here.
John Edward Marcus.
Best acting teacher I've ever slept with.
The moment for screen actors is the moment when you appear on the other side of it.
John Edward Marcus said that.
I'm sure he did.
There is nothing original anymore. Nobody is unique.
We're the future of this business.
Future looks dark.
And they betray you.
I'm counting on it that you do. I'm tired of your games.
Games? We haven't even begun to play. You're done. As a performer, as a human being, if you aren't doing your part, you're useless. Ah! I want you to tell me what your pain is.
That was the Higher Methods trailer. I'm here with the screenwriter of that piece, but also playwright and a director of stage plays. And you have a new, let's get back into Higher Methods in a second, but you have a new position at Rise. Tell us about that, please.
The Rhode Island Stage Ensemble. I'm actually doing their, I'm actually their senior chairperson right now.
Great.
They're a really wonderful group, actually. I had done one show with them, and the position became open, and I said, well, why don't we merge my company Daydream with Rise and kind of have like a collaboration, see what's going on there. And they've been great, and I've always said, you know, I'm going to do, and when I took over, I said I'm going to do one play with them, and then when that happens, I'm going to take over everything. So, but they enjoy that. They're very, very, I say that, you know, at our meetings, but they're really wonderful and a very good collaborative bunch, actually, which is great. They're actually having a show opening, I think, tonight, which would be It's a Wonderful Life if you're around and you're looking for the holiday spirits in Woonsocket, 142 Clinton Street. Little thing going on there.
How many seats does the venue have, Lenny?
Well, depending on the night, I think right now it's safely about 100.
Okay, that's a good size venue.
It's a really good size venue. It's a beautiful stage and a beautiful setup.
Right.
We have really great equipment. They have really great people, really great staff. And everybody's into it, which I love.
And this is in Woonsocket, Rhode Island.
Woonsocket, Rhode Island.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
I think there's still tickets available, but it's I'm very happy to. I'm somebody who likes to do original work, and they're supportive of that. But I support them because they do stuff that is with their heart. They do stuff that is just amazing, and with very little, they do something that is just amazing shows, and I can't wait to see what they do with It's a Wonderful Life. So I'm excited about that as well.
With theater, it's always a challenge to broker the established canon plays, It's a Wonderful Life, A Christmas Carol, Shakespeare plays in the summer, with original stuff like yourself. And speaking of original, let's go back to Higher Methods.
Sure.
Because the couple of people from that project have been on the show. Abigail Jean Lucas.
Oh, Abigail's wonderful. Yeah. She is one of the few actresses, there's probably 3 of them out there, that just terrify me by how intense they are.
Oh, yeah.
She's great. She's also a filmmaker in her own right, too. And
she was on the show to talk about her films. And
she's incredible. Her performance in that film is just off the charts, and her talent, I've actually seen some of the other short films she's done. She can be someone who can really take herself and do something like Higher Methods, which is very dark, and then she can do something that's very funny, like comedy. She's always committed to every moment, and that's why, you know, as a filmmaker, as a writer, as a director, I think that people like that, she's going to be consistently working throughout her life on something artistic, and I always look forward to see what she's going to come up with.
She's a lady with the hat.
Oh, she's a lady with the hat,
because there's a few distinctive ladies.
Oh, yeah, she is. And yeah, she's a lady with the hat, and she is, if you haven't seen her performance, if you haven't seen this film, she is incredible in it.
And the blonder lady with kind of the curlier blonde hair is an actress of note in the area.
Jamie Lynn?
Yes, Bagley, correct?
Oh, Bagley, yes. Yeah, Jamie Lynn Bagley, yes. She is, she's wonderful as well. I've actually, funny enough, she went to college with us at Rick.
Oh, interesting.
And,
very good.
Yeah, she was in my original production of The Scarecrow.
No, The Scarecrow is, when we get into your plays, and just to give Nathan Shore, the director, credit, and in your the piece here, the collaborative efforts of Higher Methods has won 3 awards with Avalonia Festival.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, won the best poster, one of the best poster awards, a Coming Attraction Award, which is like a trailer.
Absolutely, yeah.
And also, it was actually a promotional shot, is what I meant to say, for Jamie Lynn Bagley. Has a very seductive scene, which won a best promotional shot. And then behind the scenes material, I had a category for kind of like the old DVD 2000s era. I had a category for DVD bonus footage type of stuff, and Nathan entered your behind the scenes footage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was good. Good enough to win the award.
Oh, that's amazing. Hey, congratulations to everyone who won from Higher Methods.
Yeah, right, definitely. So it's definitely a film that when people get a chance to see it, is there a way for Higher Methods to be seen now?
I don't think there is currently.
The festival circuit?
I think he's going for the festival circuit next year.
Right.
He did a premiere in September, and it was a well-attended premiere.
Yeah.
The thing I like about Nathan is he took the premiere and he says, "There's a couple things I still want to do." And I love that. There's a couple things I still want to go into and do this, and then make sure we sharpen this up. And I like that because he's really thinking about that film daily.
Right.
Even now, we've had a premiere, and he's still like, "Okay, there's a few things I can still work on." The film premiere, I sat back and I was like, I never I never thought, we had worked in a film for like 3 years, and just to actually sit there and see it, and to see the reception that night was just incredible for it. And Nathan took that reception, and he just like, okay, what can I do to make it better? And has he been on the show?
Nathan's been on the show a couple times, discussed the project.
He just always is passionate about it. I mean, you watch him on the show, I'm sure.
Right.
Every time he talks about it, it's like, you could do a 5-hour show just to listen to Nathan, basically, at that point.
So that's good. And we talked about your experience as a playwright, going back to college days, 3 or 4 years ago, and the 40 or 50 plays you've done since. But we talk about things like The Scarecrow, which was a very, I don't know how personal you want to get with it.
Well, that was a show that was based on me when I was in high school, and I was an anorexic. I had been 96 pounds, I think, at that when that point. That was the play where I learned how to. I was successful play. I learned how to write, and it's also the play that gave me the impetus to do other things. I'm very fortunate because we had very good success with that play. It was the first show I had ever directed in New York in 2008, because I figured, why not take just, The Strongest or something that was most developed. But it was also the play that kind of introduced me to other things. It got me to do shows in New York once a year,
right? And
maybe more. It got me to meet people out there in New York and to keep doing work in New York. I thought that'd be my one and only. And then, 10 years later, here I am, and I'm very excited about that. But at the same token, it's also the play that taught me, if you have success in one play, you have to do something else,
right?
Because people were like, I had offers that said, hey, let's do this, let's tour with it, let's do this. Which for some people, maybe that would be the road to success, and it could have maybe done that. And I had some really substantial offers with that. But then at the same token, is it like, are you just an anorexic boy who wrote a play about himself, or are you somebody who can actually do other things? And I always wanted to be someone who did other things. I didn't want to be the show itself, if it helps people and helps them deal with something, or helps them realize something about themselves, and I'm like, great, that's fantastic. But at the same token, I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to be stuck in this telling that story over and over again.
Was it painful for you to, in a mixed way? Because I've done personal pieces too. Was it somewhat painful to? Yeah, it's glorious and it's successful, and you feel great that the show and the actors. I saw the show done with 3 different actors 3 different times over the years. But was it a thing where it was painful for you to kind of revisit those heart-wrenching stuff that you lived through as a playwright?
Yes and no. It's not so much painful for me because, at a certain point, you just kind of detach from it.
Right.
In some regards, I'm sure you had to as well. The thing that's painful was kind of painful, and by the 3rd time, actually, there's been about, believe it or not, there's been about 8 or 9 different productions.
Wow.
There's been about 6 or 7 that I didn't direct myself.
Okay.
But I kind of seen, so I've seen them over the years and everything like that. It's watching my family, basically, and watching them have to deal with certain things, especially at the beginning. It actually helped me out with other projects as mine as well, but it's dealing with my family's reaction to seeing other people play them, and having the reaction of having them see how I interpret them. I don't want them hurt, but no matter what you can do, you're going to do that a little bit anyway. By the 8th production, I think they went to go see a production that someone else had directed. I think it was somebody else. I think it was Rob Roy who directed it, and they went with me to see the show. And by the 8th time, they start laughing.
Right.
Like, they don't even know. It's so distilled by that point.
Yeah, it's got to be a shock for family or friends of playwrights or screenwriters to see and then they see the mom character or the sister.
Your mom.
And then they get a phobia that's tough too. But I mean, that's part of the creative process.
And it is, and that's it. You can't hide from it, and you have to go through that, and you have to have those conversations too with those people. And so not the first time you walk in and go, "Hey, Mom, I wrote a play," and you're in, and they're like, "Oh my God!"
Right. But I did like The Scarecrow quite a bit when I saw it, and it's a very dramatic piece. It's like you said, it's about a guy who's going through male anorexia, and I've kind of unofficially, and I don't know if I've ever told you about this, but seeing so many of your plays over the years, and being in a couple of the early ones, I have a kind of the Lenny Schwartz paradigm of plays. So the first one, that The Scarecrow really started us off with was The Guy with the Problem Place.
Yeah.
And then Lulu and Me, which I was in, which was about what was that was about the guy who likes the girl, but she's going out with the football player, right? The star jock guy.
Exactly,
so that's the unrequited love. That's The Guy with the Problem Place.
The Problem Place.
And you have several of The Guy with the Problem Place. And then usually there's a prom involved. Usually at the end. Usually the guy goes to the prom in the first act, but the girl ditches him to go off with a better looking guy. But at the end of the second act, he goes to the prom with a girl that likes him. She's usually a few pounds overweight, I gotta be honest, for whatever reason, and then they end up happily ever after. That's The Guy with the Problem Lenny Schwartz plays. Then the second one,
2003, I think, is when those ended.
Those peaked.
But I will say, Lulu and Me actually introduced the world to Tony Emerald too.
Oh yes,
for better or worse. I love Tony.
No, Tony's good.
Tony's a great man.
Hair. Then you have the wacky hijinks plays.
Oh yeah.
Which what's the character that begins with a B? He
Barry
plays
Weintraub.
Barry Weintraub.
No, Tony Emerald again.
Right. So you have your wacky hijinks, which kind of covers your Barry Weintraub, which is a recurring character in about 4 or 5 of your pieces, and then you have. Shows like you did, The Social Avenger was a wacky hijinks, where it's just craziness and social commentary and something's going on, but it's wacky hijinks. Then you might have the historical reenactment, which one of our producers here, Kevin Vindinha, took an interest in your Bill Finger.
Oh, Bill Finger play.
Right, and you've got your Lucy, you've got your Groucho Marx, the Marx Brothers.
Buster Keaton.
Buster Keaton's probably my favorite.
Yeah, everyone loves that show. And I mean, that's one of those shows that was like a once in a million show, I feel like. That was something where we had Jamie Default play Buster Keaton, and he's in New York now. And I've had people ask me over the years, can you redo that play? And the circumstances that came together were so perfect for that show. The gentleman who played Faraday Arbuckle is actually no longer with us.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was really sad when I got that news. But having that combination and actually be able to do that was my first biographical play.
Right.
And I'd worked on a screenplay for so long on that one that I had interest in it, but everyone kept saying the same thing, and doing the thing. And I've actually had interest in some of the biographical plays, which is kind of interesting, from I don't want to say major studios, but we can say that. Why not?
Why not?
You know what? That's who they were. I won't name their names, but the same problem always comes with is how much is this going to cost us? And how much can do it?
The rights from the person or their estate.
Well, yeah, whoever owns the estate, or just the thing about it. You write a play about Buster Keaton, that's great. You can probably get away with that. You do a play, and if you do a play about it, great. You don't have to really worry about paying people. You can say, you can always change. Someone comes up with something, you can change the name if you need to. When you're doing a screenplay about Buster Keaton, you say Buster Keaton, then you say, okay, well, all right. So to do a Buster Keaton play, you need Fatty Arbuckle. So that's that whole entourage coming in like that.
Everyone's got a granddaughter who wants a paycheck.
Everyone's in that, and that's what ends up happening, and that's when the money starts building up.
Right.
And just off the Finger play itself, I mean, the Finger family has been wonderful, and they've been great. But the thing is that then I get something from somebody else's family or something like this, hey, can I see it? Literally, I spent 3 years sending out videos of saying, hey, this is what the play looks like, and they're like, oh, cool, even with the Ditko play now, people, we did a play about Steve Ditko, like I said before, and even that, people are like, oh, and some of them I will say, because she was so delightful. One of them was Gardner Fox, who you might know, you might not know. He's an old Silver Age writer.
Okay.
And I talked to his granddaughter, and the woman was so supportive, and she had so many questions and so many things. But I can just imagine, though. I mean, if they did a film about Bill Finger, every single person, we'd have like.
How many conversations do you have?
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds like what's needed is a rights and clearances lawyer, if those are even around New England.
A rights and clearances lawyer, and that's kind of with a play. It's just easy. Play, I can be I'm not, this is what we're doing. This is what it is. You're going to say, hey, you know what? It's public fact. You're doing a screenplay. Well, then it becomes worldwide.
Then you're talking about distribution and marketing and residuals.
It's residuals. Who's getting residuals from what?
Oh my God!
And it becomes such a headache.
Right.
And I remember sitting down talking to one of our mutual friends, Tommy DiNucci, about it.
Oh yes.
Tommy DiNucci.
Good guy.
He's a great guy. He and I sat down and we had talked about this whole screenplay idea. And doing things. And I said, this is what would be involved. And he's like, and I love Tom. He's like, dude, I wouldn't even touch that.
It was a little horrific because meanwhile you could, not to say just as easily, but you could write an original piece with no litigation necessary and get rolling. And sometimes it's tough because some of those plays are great. The Buster Keaton one, I still remember, and the Groucho and the Lucy are all great.
Yeah, it's just it's a matter of. And people are like, well, turn it into a screenplay. Well, it's not. It's
not as simple as.
It's not as simple as.
And then you don't want to put because writing a scene can take anywhere from 2 months to a year.
Yep.
And if you're putting your time and effort into these pieces that maybe have a limited future because of, as you say, this cloud of litigation.
Well, that's the thing too, is that even the Buster Keaton play, I feel like it has passed at this point in some regards. I feel like there's a window for everything. You're right. There's a window for everything. This is how much even the Bill Finger play. This is what the public's how much they're gonna like it for, and then they're gonna be like, okay, you know.
But let me ask you, as a buddy, have you taken these same plays, because you've had some great stuff in New York and Rhode Island.
Yep.
But what about sending them to stage plays in Utah, California? I mean, the whole world of theater.
Funny enough, I've done some stuff where I've sent some stuff out, and a lot of the shows I just don't like to talk about it as much. Some of the shows have been like Subject 62. I did a play called Subject 62, and that was performed in a college. Where was that? I forget now, but there's been colleges that's been picked up the other plays. The biographical plays, I always feel like it's saying, like, people sound like it sounds great, like, oh, people are gonna love a play about Lucille Ball, and then crickets.
Really?
Because, believe it or not, because the thing of it is that, you know, it sounds great and everything, and it sounds like a wonderful thing, but then people are like, oh, we could do that, or we could do, you know, Rent. You know,
right.
like,
something that they've seen a million times.
Yeah, and we know this will make money, and maybe the Lucille Ball play will make money, but they're very peculiar plays. So that's why I just kind of write them for myself in some regards. And like the only one I think that might have a future, actually, surprisingly, is the Ditko play. That play that we just did was just because people didn't know about Steve Ditko.
Right.
And the people who did was kind of like a select club. So we kind of made the select club kind of become something that was bigger. And so that might be something that might be going to New York, and and people have said, "Hey, can we bring this to LA?" So that might happen. But again, I never know, and I never say anything until it actually is. We have talks, but like there's always this talk.
You keep your cards close to your chest, don't you?
I try to.
Because it's tough. Because if you say something, especially if it's televised on our show here or anywhere. Then people are going to hold you to it. You know, 5 years from now, hey, what happened to that project you talked about?
Yeah, the projects I will say I'm definitely doing, I can tell you. The Ditko play, I said, up in the air whether we'll go to New York or not, because I don't want to get people excited, because we have actors too, you know, I want to make sure. And I love all my actors. Some directors don't like working with actors. I love them.
You provide them cookies.
We provide them cookies. Well, I think every actor, you can't, it's such a, speaking about the mantra, my mantra is, you know, everything's a collaborative effort. Even the show that people are watching, there are people who I just met today who are wonderful doing their jobs, but nothing happens by oneself.
Right.
It's like, so when you work with actors, I've had nothing but great experiences, and that's why my audition process, I can usually tell within 20 seconds whether or not I can actually work with somebody.
You're the first guest to answer the mantra before he was asked.
Oh, really?
Sometimes I forget to ask, too. So thanks.
I always forget to ask. I'm like, I watch it.
You still got a half hour.
That's all we got. It's
no, man. Well, let's do this. Let's take a clip, because we have known each other for 3 or 4 years since college. And for the Messier Mantra audience, I want to share, this is Lenny Schwartz in college.
Oh, my gosh.
Your old stomping grounds, Rhode Island College, where you produced a lot of your initial plays.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look. This is from a piece called Rejected by Reality. Lenny Schwartz in college.
Nice to meet you. I'm Lenny. How are you? Lenny Schwartz.
Okay. My friend Mike Messier here sent in a tape to HBO for a new documentary reality type show they're doing called Campaign 2012.
Campaign 2012.
What he's going to be doing is going to be going around the country kind of lobbying to run for president. But the whole actual backstory of it all is he's going to be trying to get people's opinions on what they want in another president in the country. Thousands of people sent the tapes in. He is one of 14 finalists.
Are you serious?
So,
congratulations.
So what we got to do is we got to send this tape in, get you to sign your name, the town you live in, your email address.
Okay, sure.
We got to get 100 of these, 100 names.
Glad to be number one.
Or as many as we can. And that's what we got to do. We got to send that in with the tape.
What's that mean?
It was good because we did actually meet at Rhode Island College.
You did, yes.
And it was cool to see that footage because a lot of people really like your shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Where's this? I'm lost, take me home.
I'm lost, take me home. Exactly.
People have commented, watch the whole 25-minute movie, but they comment on your shirt.
Really? It's like 4 stars. It's actually 2 stars for the shirt. No, I'm kidding.
Shirt.
It's amazing because my hair looks great in that.
It does look good. Yeah,
I don't think I've aged all that much, though.
Well, one thing about you're a father now, if we can mention that.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Your daughter's getting...
she's 9 years old.
And that's very exciting.
Yeah, she's wonderful. She's like everything. She is she's changed my perspective of everything. I mean, I've had success before in life, and I've had, but when she was born, that was like my first true success, I feel, because she is just a delightful person. She, and it's funny because when we're pregnant with Callie, that was my first time, like I had done a show in New York, and then all of a sudden offers started coming in. I'm like, oh, really? I've been trying this for 10 years. Now it is? Which was amazing. I had to kind of like bend a little bit for that because, you have to take those opportunities as they come up, but it's afforded us to take Callie with us to places I never thought I'd be there. Like I never thought I'd be doing another show in New York after 2008. But then all of a sudden every year she's like, oh, we're going to New York again. It's cool. And then I get to, I get to go to San Diego Comic-Con, as a professional, which is really cool.
As a reporter.
Yeah, it was a reporter and as a professional actually.
Cool.
So I can get both badges. So, which is really cool because they have a thing where you can actually get professional badges and it's free. You don't have to wait in the lines or anything like that to get the tickets. And, as long as you have some sort of stake in the industry, and then, they have a judging committee and all things. I'm like, oh, and so in 2000, I think after my second screenplay, they're like, hey, here's some tickets, and now I get to go up there. And I get to go places where I never thought I'd be. I have friends in the field now who, growing up, who people I read growing up. So I have comic creators, who I can talk to, and it's like, oh wow, like they actually it's not just like, hey, it's not someone who just wrote and illustrated Fantastic Four. It's somebody I'm like, hey, Bob, what's going on?
What did you think? Unfortunately, the great artist just passed away. What did you make of that?
Oh, Stan Lee, a writer. It was funny because the Ditko play happened where Stan Lee is actually a major character. He's in 80% of the show.
Right.
Brilliantly portrayed by Jeff White. At first, there are people who are both sides of the fence on Stan Lee. My play was about Steve Ditko and how they had a relationship and who created what and everything like that. My thing is this: when I say about Stan Lee, it was very different from the Finger play, where it was a clear cut, where Bob Kane, literally, took away Batman and left his friend to kind of almost rot and die. With Stan Lee was the first person, and I have a personal affection for him. He's the first person who actually made you feel like you're a part of the club.
Right.
He was somebody who was the greatest ambassador of comics he ever did. Whether or not he did everything he said he did, created this and everything, but he's one of the great ambassadors. Comics would not be where it is today. I do agree with some points of some of the artists and some of the people saying, like Jack Kirby created a lot of it, but it's like any other collaboration. The art is brilliant by Jack Kirby and even Steve Ditko and a lot of other comic creators. But I think Stan Lee, a really humble guy who just, I think he did so much and so many things. I think he just got so caught up with it that after a while that was the story. And I do think he does believe that he did create a lot of the characters that he did. I feel that they were a co-creation.
Okay.
And I kind of leave it at that. Does he earn his place in history? Absolutely. Stan Lee is one of the legends. And
it's interesting that we could talk all day. That Kevin Smith interview DVD. I don't know if you ever saw that.
Oh, yeah,
Kevin
absolutely.
Smith interviewed Stan Lee, but I wanted to say that the fourth Lenny Schwartz paradigm. You mentioned was it 62? The number 62.
Subject 62, yeah.
Which was the 2 female leads, right? And
that was the 6-month cure.
The 6-month cure. I get my 6s mixed up.
Yeah.
But you have what I like to call the Orlandis series, which is
the Orlandis series.
The Orlandis series. I'll take credit because you have a series of plays that are very eccentric, avant-garde. Might be the word that they used in the 70s. But you have a series of plays that are like these that are just like you had one that went kind of reverse time.
Oh, yeah, Time 13, yeah.
Right, like the time was reversed, and it was about a school underground newspaper or newsletter.
Yeah.
So you have all these, you did one with Hamlet, like it was the play that people do not speak
I
the
actually
name.
didn't write that.
Beth.
That was
right.
Mike Roddick to write it. Rod had written it, but I had actually directed that show. It was one of my few shows I directed that, somebody else, but I, it was, I almost feel like, as a director, it was kind of like, we had such a meld in that one that it was really kind of, it was going
tight,
to the same, very tight wheelhouse.
It was a good show, yeah. But my point was you have this fourth quadrant of the Lenny plays that are more experimental.
Yeah.
The reason why I take credit, probably undeserved, is that I had written and produced it. You produced it, a stage play called Orlandus and His Puppets Without Strings, where we had like a 25-year-old Russian supermodel.
So much.
Right, playing a 45-year-old acting teacher, male, and it was very.
You can't take credit for it. I can actually give you that credit because you taught me in one sense, and this is something I love that play. I love that entire thing. If you look at that time in my life, that's when my play started becoming more weird, if we'll say, in some regards. But the thing that was great about that play is that you just didn't care.
Right.
I sat there and as in producing, I'm like, I don't care either. This is great. And you didn't care if people liked it or hated it. This was it.
Yeah.
If you want to take that time to take that and understand that, then you were like, I am going to. Then the audience member, here it is. And everyone had an opportunity to like it, whether they did or not. It's up to them. It's like, this is what it is, and I love that. And I thought that was. I said, I want some of that,
Thanks.
But yeah, and
it was a 35-minute play consisting of about 7 monologues and 1 dialogue. Yeah. And one girl takes a donut and crams it in the other girl's face.
Oh, my favorite part.
And then a plastic doll comes out of nowhere, Lucy Leprosy.
Yeah, Leprosy. Yeah.
But Orlandus was fun because we actually did get that on video.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. I challenge people to sit through that.
Yeah. That's the word for it.
But I love it because it's its own thing, and it'll never be anything else. And I love that. But it's true. You take what you learn from people, and what I see. But what I like about that is that nobody around here. And I'm not putting down anything else that other people do. At that point, it was all like, okay, well, I'm doing plays. Here's an audience. Everybody comes.
Right.
And we're doing the Barry Weintraub play. Everybody comes. Have a good time. Whether they know what the heck happened, who cares? But but they're all having a good time. The ability to laugh. But I said, let's challenge them a little bit more. And then it actually challenged me as a writer to say, I don't have to, whether or not, the Scarecrow, what it is, isn't a play that is going to lead people to, this is what it is, all there. It's in a way, it's commercial because people can identify with it.
Right.
What if you do something that someone has never seen before? And I love that. I love that about Orlandus. And so, yes, there's that one too.
The Orlandus series, I'll take credit. But I mean, you've been doing, and speaking of which, I mean, just so, and so I think sometimes you forget that you are even, you're writing these film scripts. Some of the stage scripts become screenplays.
Yep.
And some of these filmmakers are working with you to make some films happen.
Well, that's
exciting too.
Yeah, it was. It's been a very fortunate kind of few years, especially. In 2011, I will give Richard Griffin a lot of credit for this. He said, hey, do you ever thought about, because we had talked, on Facebook, we never met before or anything like that. But he had said to me, hey, would you want to write a screenplay, a horror film?
Right.
And I was excited because no one ever had asked me that before. Well, and I said, okay. And that was the first film we had done, which was Murder University. And Richard, is a working director. He works them, he churns them, he does them, but he takes he's always working on a film. I don't know if he could ever not be working on a film. I think he is just somebody, he has his own aesthetic, and I appreciate that he's constantly working and trying to do different things. And so I said, yeah, I would love to. So I met up with him, and it became Murder University. And I always knew how to write a screenplay. I've taken screenwriting classes. I've actually written a few screenplays just for myself and kind of thing. And so I can sit down and be like, oh, I wrote this. No one's ever filmed it.
Sure.
We know what I'm saying. It's
it's painful. Yeah.
It's painful. And but then Richard had asked me to do Normal, which was the second film that we had done together. And that and again, Richard kind of changed everything again too. He's like, well, you did this kind of horror film and everything like that. Try a different genre. And I haven't looked back since. I've been constantly writing screenplays or trying to do things for film. I'm actually thinking about actually directing one. That's my next goal,
well, why
I think.
Not?
Yeah.
I mean, you've directed stage,
well, that's
so
it.
why
Yeah,
not?
I want it to be the right circumstances. I have the script. I have it done. I want to make sure it's the right circumstances. I think with film, and I've said this before, but I never know. I actually have taken, I know how to edit. I know how to do different things, whether or not I would. I've actually talked to a cinematographer. I want to do something, and I know what the screenplay is, but I won't talk about it. And I've talked to actors and actresses about it. I want to do something that is whether or not it's my one shot, that would be it. But I have to do it in the next 5 years. I think I'll be directing a screenplay that I've written, because it's in this life you only get this amount of time. I think we've talked about this, you and I, before, that. If I'm, you're 29, so you may not get this yet.
Right.
But I'm in my 40s. I just, I'm 41. Like, I've already had one go round. If I last till I'm 82, I only get all that amount of time left to do something else. So I might as well do something, and I should direct a film. I think just for that experience of that, see what came out and see if I can actually do something with it.
I'm sure you could. And let's take a look at this piece that you wrote. I believe Richard directed late night.
Oh, Long Night in a Dead City.
Long Night in a Dead City.
This was one of my favorites. Yeah.
Is it Long Night in a Dead City? Let's check out the trailer to Long Night in a Dead City, right here on Messier. I was trying to catch the musician on that piece, too, because that was very appropriate music for the movie.
Mark Cutler, actually.
Very good.
Very good.
He's a kind of a rock legend in New England, isn't he?
Yeah. He's done a few things for a couple of different films, I think. I think he did some work on Normal as well. Mark is amazing. I mean, if anyone gets a chance to listen to his music, he's really somebody who knows what he's doing, and it's really just an excellent musician. That film actually only took 6 days to write, which was amazing. I actually just had time, and I said, I'm just going to write this film, and we had to shoot very quickly. And Rich was like, "How fast can you get a film done?" And I actually wrote it in 5 days, and the 6th day I edited the entire thing. And it's probably, I've never written something that quickly before, but it probably stands as one of the best things I think I've ever done, and I appreciate. And I also have to say it's my favorite film that Richard had done, not just because I'd written it. I think he does something in that I've never seen before, and I think it's something that's very personal to him. And I can watch that film 1,000 times. He did so well with it. So
what I want to ask you, Lenny, is for people watching the Messier Mantra, we've reminisced and we've talked about a lot of your stuff. But for someone out there who says, "Wow, well, this sounds very exciting," but if they want to get involved, say someone wants to be a playwright, where would they even start?
I get every year I get a few people saying, "Hey, can you produce my film? Can you help me produce my?" Because I've done film producing too. "Oh, hey, can you help me produce my play? Can you do this?" And I always like to tell people the same thing: just do it. There's no such thing as writer's block. I think it's just like, hey, I'd rather watch Law and Order. Hey, I'd rather watch Netflix
or tweet
or tweet
for 5 hours in a row.
I mean, I think we've talked about this just before too. You only have this amount of time. People are spending their lives looking at their cell phones, and looking at this thing and this thing. Facebook, Twitter, a lot of the stuff I don't even bother with at this point. I mean, to a certain extent, you got to walk away from it. You can do only so much, but you can't be posting something and waiting that people like it all day long.
Living for likes.
Living for likes, and that's actually perfect. If you're living for likes, then there's nothing. There's experiences out there. Climb a mountain, have fun.
Right.
Do something that is actually. Sit down and create something. It's a project. It's like anything else.
Let me just ask you though, but if someone the nuts and bolts of it, if they said, hey, some 16-year-old kid's watching our show, 17, and they say, wow, I have this idea about my skateboarding group or something, and they want to write a play about it. Yeah. What would be their first step?
I mean, just to put words down on the paper. Buy a notebook, get a pen, start writing. I would also say read. That is the biggest thing. If you don't know what it is out there, what you might like or what kind of genre there is, then you're never going to have a path of which to go to. I'm not saying, copy or trace anything like that or what people have done. I'm saying read. See how the greats have done it.
Right.
See how, how they did it in the 30s, how they did it in the 40s. Want to read a screenplay if you're looking to do a screenplay. Read L.A. Confidential. L.A. Confidential is an amazing screenplay. Watch the film, read the screenplay, and then maybe even compare them up. If you're looking to do a play, read plays. Honestly.
Who are some of your favorite playwrights beyond yourself?
Oh gosh, it was a time I was reading a play a day. I love David Rabe. I think David Rabe is
what is he reading?
Hurly Burly.
Oh yeah,
unbelievable.
Gary Shandling was in the film version.
Oh yeah,
right?
Gary Shandling. Yeah, I mean, unbelievable. I love anything that he's written. I love. I mean, it depends. I've read so many of them. I used to love Christopher Durang. Now I can't tolerate him for some reason.
He was a very late '90s type of guy.
Yeah,
wasn't he?
yeah. I think that kind of flavor
Friends
fell out.
on a bad day.
Yeah. What is that? He wrote an amazing. I think the only place of his that still holds up for me is The Marriage of Bet and Boo.
Right.
But yeah, it's always like, hey, it's wacky time. And there's not much else substance-wise. You look at David Mamet, what David Mamet used to do. I mean, his stuff still holds up. Whether or not people want to read that or not is up to them. But I do appreciate them. But there's a whole list of writers that I honestly sit there. Like right now, my favorite thing in the world as far as filmmakers, I just bought that Bergman set, the Ingmar Bergman set.
Okay.
Oh my God, I've seen all the films, but just actually watch them all again is just unbelievable. And that to me is like, okay, well, that is something that when you have a writer, you like study them. I mean, that's probably the best advice I could probably give.
But at the same time, you want to hold on to your own voice too.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't do what they're doing, but study what makes them work. Don't just study what do you like about it. What are you responding to?
Do you ever read or listen to books about the craft of writing? Do you ever listen to Stephen King on writing? Are you into? I try to. The problem I have with that is that, and I can't imagine it feels like a how-to book. I mean, some people it might be really something that's beneficial. It says, hey, I love what Stephen King does. I'm talking about like a Sid Field type of thing where he kind of breaks down character points. Are you into that? Or?
I'm not into it as much as I want to be. I tried the Sid Field thing, and I tried. What was that? Is he the guy? I'm trying to think of the famous guy who does seminars. Is that Sid Field?
No, it was Sid Field's one of them, and then there was the guy. McKee, who was parodied in Adaptation. Adaptation is a parody of Robert McKee. He's got a very grizzled voice.
I actually saw clips from McKee's class, and it looks exactly like it. I had friends who had taken it. And he says, we learned how to write a screenplay in all these times. And I actually had an opportunity to go on and do further studies with my screenplay. And I can tell you some stories about that, but my thought is always this. Nobody can really teach you how to write. And I mean, this doesn't sound completely off. I mean, those things are great. Nobody can teach you how to sit at that table with, put your butt in a seat and actually write. And except for you have to find out what your discipline is. Or your mantra.
Yeah, there you go.
But I don't think so. I don't think those things are very helpful to me. I think for some people they might be like, hey, it's an entry point. It's like anything else. Like, I always felt like if I'm going to write and create this, I just have to create the way I know how.
Right.
And whether or not people like it or hate it, or respond to it or not. But there's some people who say, hey, I don't know how to get into that, and those books would be helpful for those people. But, maybe Stephen King will watch the show and be like, you don't know what you're talking about. I wrote The Shining, here's Johnny.
He'll come run us over with the Maximum Overdrive truck, crashing through the walls.
I remember that preview where it's just like, I will scare the hell out of you.
Well, as you were speaking, I was thinking, some things you can learn, but you can't teach.
That's exactly it. Perfect.
Perfectly said. The other thing I would say is, as a guy who yourself, you've directed, at this point, probably hundreds, if not thousands of actors.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And talking about 3, 4, or 5 plays a year, whatever it's been for so many years.
Yeah.
What's your advice to someone watching this who either is just starting with their acting, never acted before, maybe they've acted in a couple of things, but they feel like they're hitting some dead ends? Because New England can be tough. If you don't have the connections, or if you're not a social person, and you feel like, well, I went to this open house audition and it was kind of weird. They didn't really say, well, I can see where people get easily frustrated and they cut themselves off. What do you do? What do you say to encourage them or lead them in the right direction?
The thing you have to always remember is, for anything like that's artistic, you have to do it for yourself. You have to do it for yourself and what you get out of it. If you're finding out that it's just pain that you're getting out of it, then maybe it's not a good thing. But I mean, to be completely honest, but you have to find a way to get some sort of pleasure out of it, and in not so many terms. It's for somebody starting out, for somebody doing things, it can get very daunting. I always have to say, it's doing a play feels like you have a ledge, basically. You're trying to jump up to that ledge, and like you're not up there. I can probably hit that, but trying to get to a house ledge, and you're kind of like, trying to jump up and trying to grab that ledge. That's like producing anything. Can you get that? Can you do that? And it's very tough because you don't know people, you don't know, if you know somebody, hey, it's great, but even so, you still have to do that work. And where do you learn that work? The thing you have to remember is not to give up, and to not to be angry at yourself when you fail, and never stop learning. That is the big thing. You can't stop learning. Even now, I want to learn. That when you stop learning, you're dead in the water. There was a documentary. There was a movie that just came out on Netflix. The other side of the wind with Orson Welles.
Interesting.
I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't. I haven't even heard of it until now.
No. They after many years, they put together Orson Welles' last film. Basically, it's on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think
the
it's
unfinished film.
The unfinished film. Exactly. They put it together, and Peter Bogdanovich put it together with everyone. Try to figure out what he wanted with the footage, because he shot all this footage. It took like 6 years. What's amazing about that film, though, and if you watch it. If you watch that entire thing, that's basically what it's about, the creative process. It's about that. It's basically not to stop. It's to, I'm trying to think of the right saying to do. There's a moment in there. So there's a documentary about that film where Orson Welles says the most amazing thing I've ever heard. It's just like he says, he's basically like, he's just there and he's like doing things, and he has a look in his face like he never wanted to stop learning, and that was amazing. It's a comic. I'll leave you with one more story, then we can get on from that. But there's a comic book creator, Will Eisner. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
I have his books. Yeah, he's got two, part 1 and part 2 of drawing graphic novels.
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah, and Will Eisner is one of the most amazing creators the industry ever had. Whether or not he never did really like sequential comics, but he did The Spirit. He's like the modern father of the graphic novel. And I heard a story in the 70s where he was, all these young kids were together, and Will was invited to all these comic book parties and everything like this, and with all these elder comic book people. He hung out with the kids because he wanted to find out how they did it, and the people were starting out. And I said, that is amazing. Myself, you asked me what I would think about kids, start doing things. I'd want to hang out with them. Right. I want to learn what they're doing right now. I don't want to hang out with the people who who are my age, kind of trying to figure out what are these kids doing that is exciting, because that's your audience. That's where theater always goes wrong, is that they always say, oh, we're going to make it for the blue hairs. Find out what the kids are doing. What are they like? Because they're your future of the audience, and what they would respond to go see a theater. That's where you're going to hit your stuff.
The blue hairs is a comment or a reference. It's been used. Older folks, their hair is gray. It's turning.
Yeah, no offense, anyone.
Yeah, no offense. But the thing is, like I said, it's troubling about not troubling, but a challenge for theater. And now you're in a position of authority with the Rise Theater. Is how do you balance your palette of shows so that you get butts in seats, but you're still introducing new work, but you're not losing that audience, and that's a tough challenge.
Well, it's a challenge, but not really. It sounds weird. I'm not saying that like it's a give me every time, but you have to realize at some point, you're not going to have as well attended a show as some others.
Right.
My whole goal with Rise was to say, hey, I still want to do my shows that I do, and I want to do them the same exact way I want to do, and this is what I want you guys to do, and I'll be here to support your shows as well. So their audience is kind of different than mine almost in some regards.
Right.
But now there's some crossing over going on, which is great for both of us. So I think that in some regards you have to be a collaborative with not just yourself, but with other theaters around. You also have to do one thing which I think scares a lot of people, is to be honest on their audition process as much as possible, and the creative process. don't cast your friends. Don't.
Okay.
Don't cast your friends. Don't, if you're going to audition somebody, audition fairly. Because I think that goes a long way. Don't just do shows to say make money, basically. I mean, for Rise, they want to do It's a Wonderful Life, and I think that's great. And I think that it does make money. But I think when they were talking to me about it, they had a real idea of what they wanted to do. Not what I would want to do for a show, but they were excited about it. It wasn't like, oh, we're doing It's a Wonderful Life,
Right.
We're making Christmas Carol money. You got to realize that's going to be part of your thing. You have to do a holiday show. But at the same token, I mean, they just did a production of And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie.
Yes.
And it was really great, and I enjoyed it because, again, they cast fairly. The people who were there were cast for their role specifically. It wasn't friends doing something like this, and it was just new people who had never worked together before, and the dynamic was amazing. So for me, that's an exciting thing to watch, as far as I go. And I think that, and believe it or not, as much as I am about the new work and everything, I do believe that these shows that have been in rotation, some of them have to keep being rotated because they are important that we keep the theater alive, and that these And Then There Were None was something that was, keep that out there, keep that name out there so people know what it is. If people want to know what the show is or see an Agatha Christie thing, it's there for them. That's great.
And you never know. It's odd because, I mean, I just saw Annie, and it was the first, I never saw Annie the film, and I never saw Annie on stage.
Yeah.
And I just saw it last Thursday.
Yeah.
So you never know who's in the audience who might be very well versed in theater and film, and for whatever reason, a particular show fell through the cracks of their lifetime experience.
Yeah.
I remember, I think a friend that we both know, a guy named Dan White. He did a show, a Christmas show of some kind that was like Our Town or something. He did it like in black and white.
Wow.
Where all the actors...
Daniel Lee White,
Yeah, Daniel Lee White. He did something where all the actors wore black outfits with white makeup to give the whole show, and the whole set design was in black and white.
Wow.
So you feel like you're watching a black and white movie, but you're in the audience, and suddenly you're in this weird thing in your mind that it's a black and white show.
Yeah.
So I mean, it just stood out as you were speaking.
That's amazing. That's great.
So I mean, there's always something you can do with theater. I mean, you already answered the mantra question. So I just want to give you this opportunity. We have about 4 minutes left.
Yeah.
Well, if people want to work with you, because you've talked to a key word that you used is collaboration.
Yep.
So if people not just to hit you up like, hey buddy, read my play, because I know what you mean. Sometimes people just hit you up, hey Mike, can you work with me on this? Which basically, can you do this for me?
Yeah.
But not that. But if someone had a serious opportunity for you that might help you, or they might want to audition for you as an actor, what would they do to get in touch with you?
They can go to my email me. I have an AOL. So my name, Lenny Schwartz, without the E. So LNNY SCHWARTZ. Send me an email. You can also, I don't want to give out my phone number, but
no, you don't have to do that. No.
But yeah, you can find me through the Rise, the Rise page or the Rise Facebook page. Daydream Theater has a page online, which is really cool. So if you want to find that, it's on Facebook. Go right ahead. And just reach out, or just looking for local auditions. I have a show auditioning in February, actually.
Can you tell what that's going to be about?
Sure. It's actually a play called Me 3, A Guide to New Beginnings. And it's a kind of a scary show, which is kind of nice. Not a horror show, but for me, it's a scary show. It is about the Me Too movement, actually, which is it's a comedy. So, so it's a wacky comedy. I also want to talk about the disconnect between males and females in modern day culture.
It's getting worse, isn't it?
It's getting worse, and I think a lot of it it's called, again, Me 3, A Guide to New Beginnings, but it's also a show that it doesn't try to solve its problem. It just kind of recognizes it, basically, because you can't solve that problem. That is something there's a lot of things in the show which are very done comically that show what males do, and that show something that we don't even realize.
Because we've been brought up in a culture that silently condones behavior that might be misogynistic or rude or inappropriate, or we think we're joking around, but maybe the person who's receiving the joke doesn't see it as a joke or doesn't feel very good.
Absolutely, and it goes even beyond just women too. It goes for men doing it to other men, women sometimes doing it to guys, women doing it to women. I've interviewed 25 people, and the stories are so alike, but they're so different in so many different ways, and there's so many things. I just want to kind kind of keep the magnifying glass, if you would, and kind of look at ourselves.
Sounds like an important show because, I mean, the topic is loaded, and especially with the integration of social media online.
Yep.
If you know, flirt, in quotes, online with someone, is that the same of pinching somebody's butt?
And that's the question.
At the workplace.
That's really the question.
You know?
And it's done, I like to say it's done in a tasteful way, but it is pretty out there and it doesn't hold back. So I'm excited and nervous, but excited, but very excited to see what happens.
Well, it's good because I mean, I think you need to bring those topics to the forefront because people are kind of, it's on the tip of the tongue, but nobody really has a solution.
Nobody has, and nobody wants to talk about it unless it's something that says, hey, look at what they're doing. Hey, what's going on here? And then it's like, oh, and then everybody else kind of puts their hands up and kind of like, whoa, you don't want to go near it. And it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like you're in a war and you're kind of ducking your head, you know?
And it's easy to take pot shots at celebrities who did something wrong, but yet people who often point that finger have 4 fingers pointing back at them.
Exactly.
And
that's exactly it. That's one of the shows about that as well, yep.
Well, we're wrapping things up, but it's been such a pleasure to have Lenny.
An hour.
You know, it goes like that. Thanks to Cody PXOdo and Kevin Vindinha, Vindinha, sorry, I mispronounced that, but we've had a great show. And Lenny, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you for having me, sir. Thank you. It's been great.
Lenny Schwartz. Thanks for watching this episode of Messier Mantra. We'll see you next time.